Do, 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 do. Okay, let's talk about our favorite movies of the year in 2023. I had a couple. One, most people of you have heard. The other one, maybe you haven't even seen it or even knew it was out there because it didn't last very long, and it's actually, I think, an Amazon Prime movie. So first off, one of my favorite movies of the year is still Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise, part 1 of 2. And it's just because the franchise builds on its own action every single time. You know what you're going to get with a Tom Cruise movie. You're going to get amazing stunts, you're going to get action, you're going to get spy thrill, and you're going to get Tom Cruise acting his butt off in a movie. And while I thought this one went on just a little too long, I still like this movie from start to finish. And I cannot say that about too many movies that have come out, especially in 2023. Far more disappointing movies than movies that I really enjoy from start to finish. And this is one of those big blockbuster movies that I actually really enjoyed. So yeah, Tom Cruise, Mission Impossible movie, absolutely. Now, the one that you might not have heard of is a simple little movie called Air. And it stars Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, Viola Davis, Chris Tucker, Jason Bateman, like stars that you go, hey, that sounds like a big all-star cast, and it was. But it's a very simple movie. It's the story of how Nike moved from one of the lowest rated basketball shoe companies ever. They were about to go under, and they went after Michael Jordan. And they went after Michael Jordan with a new concept. And they had to beat out Converse, and they had, they were the big underdog story, which of course I love an underdog story, not to mention a story about people behind the scenes in the sporting industry, as opposed to people who are the stars. A story about Michael Jackson and his story could be interesting, but boy, the story behind the people that helped build his legacy and become the #1 shoe ever in the world, the marketing behind that, and how it became, all the things they had to do and give up, and first in the industry of this, first in the industry of that. It was so intriguing to me, and it was so well acted that, of course, we knew how it ended up, but I never knew how they got there, and that is why I really enjoyed the movie Air. It's on Amazon Prime. If you have it, I would definitely check it out. It's one of my favorite movies. I've watched it it came out spring. I think I've watched it 7 times since then. That's how much I've enjoyed the movie. Now for movies that have been my most disappointing of the year, and I can just throw up pretty much any Disney movie up there, from Haunted Mansion to The Marvels to Wish to you name it, right? Like Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, like disappointment after disappointment after disappointment after disappointment, because they just seem to be bad lately. Just seem to be bad. So I'm going to get away from the superhero movies and go with my most disappointing movies of the year. Movies that I really had high hopes for when I first heard they were coming out, and the actors that were in it. And then when it came out, I just left the theater going, oh my God, that was bad. I hated it. I was so disappointed. And I would say my first nominee for this would be The Dial of Destiny. That's right. How has Harrison Ford allowed himself to be in this movie, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny? It was atrocious. It was poorly written, poorly acted, horrible concept. The best part of the movie is when they redid him to make him look younger in the first 15 minutes of the movie, and then the movie just goes to garbage after that. Hey, here's a little member berries of what Harrison Ford used to be, and this is what Indiana Jones used to be, and now we're going to show you what he is now, and he's old, he's decrepit. We need this new female character to come in, and she's going to be spunky, and she's going to be this, and she's going to steal the show, and everyone's going to love her, and nobody loved her. Everybody hated the character because she was not a likable character. I'm not talking about the actress. I'm talking about the character they wrote was really, really bad. Nobody wanted to like this character. She's a thief. She's money grubbing. She wasn't doing it for the history. She was bad. How are we gonna, Harrison Ford, architect who brings things back to the museums, wants to get things back into history. He's the character he's an adventurer, but we cheered for him because he was going to do the right thing. She just wants to make some money and sell things. She doesn't care who she hurts, and she actually locks him in a cage to get caught by the bad guys. I mean, what the heck were they thinking when they wrote this movie? It was horrible. Dial of Destiny should have never been made like this. I just don't understand the logic between anybody who would click OK to this movie. And Harrison, what are you doing to your legacy characters? What are you doing, buddy? I am so a big fan of your career. And then I saw this and I said, oh my God, somebody needs to take over his career again because he's making horrible decisions. Now, speaking of actors who have risen to the top in their field lately with movies like Joker, Joaquin Phoenix, his portrayal in Napoleon. And I think this is I don't know if this was the direction he was given or the direction he decided to be, but as a person who followed Napoleon, studied Napoleon, and has read countless books on the history, the stories, fiction novels, true life stories, documentaries, everything about Napoleon. This was an atrocity. It was like, what are you doing to a character? You basically wanted to belittle this character who was an icon of the French history, and many people consider one of the greatest strategic minds of his era. He almost took over all of Europe, and he rose from the ranks of nothing. Now, in my first original video on that, I came out and said he was a peasant. Yes, he was a minor noble's son who had been conquered by the French and taken over and forced into military academy. So yeah, he has some noble birth, but it wasn't French noble birth. He was basically considered a peasant among the low royalty in France at the time. So yes, he rose from nothing to become emperor of France and almost emperor of Europe. And wow, this movie goes way out of the way to make him look like a sniveling, whining little baby boy. You could not rise to those ranks in the military and everything being this character. It would never have happened. It could never have happened. And I don't know the choices that they made. I just don't understand it. But it was a really, truly, probably my most disappointing movie in years. That's how much I dislike this movie, in years. Most disappointing movie in years is Napoleon. So there you go. A classic character, Indiana Jones, reduced to nothing, reduced to an old man who really doesn't know what he's doing anymore and can't do anything anymore, and somebody else has to take over for him, and a really bad character, and a historic character treated with disrespect and making him a sniveling little worm, coward, mama's boy. yeah, those are definitely my most disappointing movies of 2023, if not in my lifetime.
That's our new intro.